Hey, hey, hey! Hope everybody's doing good. Today we're going to talk about feet and shoes and some of the base principles within that and why we may get sore in our feet when we're riding. So first thing is whether you ride with clips or whether you ride with flats. I'm going to be talking as in general between both of them. Typically with the stiffness of the shoe, it's going to matter more for flats versus it will for cleats, because whenever you clip in, then your shoe is typically a little bit more stiff and it's made for it. So first off, why does it matter for a shoe to be stiff, and why is it important where our foot is placed on the pedal? So we have a couple different things in our foot, and one of them is called the arch. We actually have two arches, so not just one. Most people just think that we have one arch in our foot. The first arch that most people think about is just our main arch that goes across. And it's called the longitudinal arch. It's basically like from our big toe-ish back towards our heel. And that's where our plantar fascia comes in and helps stabilize that area, especially when our toe comes up. But there's also another arch that we forget about, and it's called the transverse arch. And it goes from our big toe to our pinky toe, back in the base area, in like the foot position. And so that guy is often left out and feels neglected because it doesn't really get a whole lot of arch support. Whenever it comes to our foot and placement on the pedal, we try to put it kind of like at the ball or a little bit back behind to make sure that we have our base of our foot in the middle or kind of around here in the pedal. And it's going to depend on you a little bit on where you like to place your foot into it. What you don't want is for your pedal to be pushing up into your foot. And that's where the stiffness of your shoe matters a whole lot more. Because if I place my foot on the pedal further back, further up, I don't want to feel the pedal kicking into my foot. I want the base of my shoe to help me with my strength of my foot to help support my arches. Because if I lose my arches, then my foot's gonna fall in and my foot may start to cramp. It also may occlude some arteries and it also may press on some nerves. If you have issues in your feet and you're catching this either live or on the replay, I'd love to see you and know that you're here. But if you have issues in your feet where you get sore or where you get numb, or where they get tingly, then let's talk. Because sometimes whenever your shoe isn't stiff enough, then that can cause you to put pressures on certain parts of the bottom of your foot and cause you to collapse your arches, either the transverse arch or the longitudinal arch, and cause issues through here. Now, issues in your feet can cause issues in your knee, can cause issues in your hip. Because if I lose my arch, then my knee immediately goes inward. And that can cause other issues and stresses and strains on the knee. Now, if I have a good solid base, comparatively to another flat shoe that I wear, not for riding, this guy is a whole lot more flimsy, and I'm gonna feel the pedal in through here. And so it's important to buy some type of riding shoe that's a whole lot more stiff so your foot can be on that base and so you don't lose your arch that way. Now that you have a good base though, you want to make sure the inside of the shoe does what you need it to do as well, which is you need enough support for your arches, but you don't need too much support for your arches. And that's where people can come into trouble, is they actually support their arch too much. They have too much support for it, and so then your body isn't able to actually cushion. Do you guys know why we have arches? Why did these guys get built into our system? It's because we need some shock absorber. And so as I drop my foot to the ground, what happens is that I lose my arch. But that's a good thing. It's just not good to stay there. I need my arch to come back and be ready for the next shock absorber. And that's where our muscles in our feet come into play. So if we support our arch too much, then we're not going to be able to have a good shock absorber, and it's not going to be able to cushion our knees, our hips, and our feet. And that can cause some other major issues within it. So we need enough arch support You need it in the right places, but not too much so, and you want to make sure that your foot muscles are strong enough to handle that in-between part that you don't support it too much. I hope this makes sense to everybody about like that in-between and not having too much arch support. Also, if you just put something that's super cushy in your shoe, it's not going to give you as much support. It's going to actually just make you a little bit more off and not give you much variance there. And I'd love to know what you got, if that makes sense for enough arch support versus too much arch support. And also how more cushy arch support doesn't actually give you what you need. You need a little bit more of a firm base within that movement through there. Now, enough arch support is very vague, right? You're like, that's not telling you what I need, Liz. So whenever you put your foot on an arch support, it's going to feel different out of the shoe versus in the shoe. So make sure when you're trying out different supports, and or if your shoe already has a little bit of one, these guys, these are the Freerider Pros, they have a little bit of arch support in them. But the base 510s don't really have any arch support. And so I actually prefer to not have as much arch support whenever I'm buying the shoe and then me put it in myself. Because then I know that I'm matching up to me and my foot. Thankfully, these guys fit me fairly well for my foot style. Now, if you have a wider foot, you're going to need more of that transverse arch support, which no shoe actually has. And so there are these things called metatarsal pads. You can buy them online. I can put a link down below to anybody that wants them. Just say metatarsal pads and I'll put the link underneath of it. And it basically sticks into your shoe and it supports right across here and gives you a little bit bigger of a base. For a lot of bike fitters, that's one of the biggest things they change, especially if you're getting toe numbness and you've tried with shoelaces, you tried different shoes, you actually probably just need a little bit more support through here. Yeah, so Michelle, you're getting a little bit of pain underneath your big toe. Maybe probably that transverse arch support, that little metatarsal pad, it looks kind of like a teardrop. And it really helps give that front of the foot that support and that to help the nerves basically travel through the front part and spread them out. So we went over that your shoe needs to be stiff. You need a little bit of arch support, and then your muscles need to be able to do the rest of it. I'm going to make this a two-part series because your foot and ankle play a huge role within each other. And next week I'm going to go over more so the ankle and how that plays a role into the foot and what things to look for within it. Now, when it comes to the muscles in your feet, there are some that run up and down. And then there's others that reside in your actual leg that come down and control more of your foot. Now your calf is one of them, and then you also have one that brings your foot in, and you have one that brings your foot out. The key is making all those guys work together, and then also not causing yourself to have a bunion. Bunions are when your big toe starts to slide in, and this part right here starts to slide out. It makes it extremely hard to find different shoes to fit. And there's some things that you can do ahead of time now, especially if you're noticing that trend. So I have a little bit towards that trend, and I have been working on one of the exercises that I'm giving you. So now we're going to branch more into the exercise part. If you feel like your muscles are fatiguing in your feet when you're riding, you may need more arch support, and or you may need to get your foot stronger. So that's a little bit of a knowledge to know. If you're feeling that you're getting like too much pounding into your foot, then you may have too much arch support and you may need a little bit less within that shoe, or you may need a stiffer shoe to help with some of that pounding through it to make sure you have that solid base. I hope that helps answer some people's questions. So a couple of the exercises we're going to go over. One is basically you use a towel and you're going to curl the towel with your foot and gather it basically back and then bring it out. These are great exercises to do while you're sitting and watching the TV at night. You're going to do it when your foot is straight and when your foot is curved in, and when your foot is curved out. These muscles right here that you're using to curl your toes, they also help support your arch. And so if they're fatiguing out, or you're even not able to grab the towel to curl it underneath, then you know that you need to do this exercise. It's perfect for you. All right, so the towel curls are exercise number 1. The next exercise you can either do with a pen cap, or like where you hold a pen cap in here, or you can do it with the same towel. You're going to snag a hold of the towel and you're going to tap in and out with it. This is working on the muscles that support your arch with the movement of your foot. And believe me, they will probably fatigue out pretty quickly if you're not used to doing it. And or it'll be just hard for you to hold on to the towel as you do it. So those are muscles that help support the arch as well. Somebody wrote something on here. Yes, Kathy, a lot of the same things that I'm saying is the same as if you wear clipless shoes. It's because it's the same thing if you have too much arch support in them. Usually they're stiff, and so I don't worry about that part. But you can have too much arch support, or you can have not enough arch support in both the transverse arch that goes across here, or the longitudinal arch that goes up and down. So we covered those 2 exercises. Your towel curls, working on just the endurance and strength of the muscles that support the longitudinal arch. And then we worked on where you're grabbing and you're moving your foot in and out. So where you're grabbing that towel and or pen cap and you're moving it in and out. And then the last one is for the bunion, and then also to help you with controlling how your foot is moving. And I hope that you guys can see this. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to spread your toes apart and then relax and spread them apart. Yeah, I can snag this so you guys can see it a little bit better. And I should have probably painted my toenails, but I did not. Let me see. So this is relaxed, spread it apart, and then come back together. And you see how this works, the muscles that bring this toe in, and then also the muscles that bring that toe out. And there's muscles that hang out here and through here. And these are the main gigs and main dudes that help support you so you don't get a bunion, which is where it's going to look like that. And that's where this guy sticks in, or sticks this way in towards your other foot more, and your big toe goes back towards your other toes. And so this is working a lot of those muscles that's through here, so you can help that. So that muscle, those exercises are super important because they're going to help you because you don't need too much arch support in your shoes. You need enough, and the muscles help control the rest of it. And so you can get that support without getting too fatigued through these muscles, and or it'll help you for whenever you're on those longer descents or longer rides. We tend to grip our toes a little bit. Try to make sure that you relax them a smidge during the actual ride downhill. Don't grab tons with your toes as you're doing it. That can be a sign that you're trying to get stability and control through here when you're needing it more through here. And I know I do it whenever I start getting fatigued through my core, through my glutes, through my legs, then I'll be like, whoop, toes are down gripping, and making sure that you take like a little second when you're riding and check in with your body, see what's happening. So we covered 3 exercises. One's the toe grab curls, one's the towel curl with your touches on each side, and the other one's where you're spreading them apart. And we also covered how having really stiff shoes with a smidge of an arch support, both longitudinal, front to back, and across is important. And if you want that transverse arch support for it, say metatarsal pad, or say like toe arch for me down below. So I know that you want a link towards that and to use those to help you support yourself. There's different sizes of them as well that you guys can choose. Typically, I would recommend the smaller one at first, so you don't put too much extra, doesn't take up too much extra space in your shoes. And And then also making sure that you don't grip too much as you're going downhill with those toes. Next week, we're going to be covering more so the ankle and how that plays a substantial role into your foot. It can actually make your foot move differently because your ankles aren't doing what they're supposed to do. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. If you have any other questions on this, let me know. And it may cause for another live video to talk about it. Feet are complicated. They're not simple. There's a ton of different bones in them. Same thing with hands and wrists. They're super complicated. There's a whole lot going on there. Sweet. All right, ladies, you guys have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.